discussion with network devices. Today we will continue further with our discussion. The topic that we will discuss today is a bridge. So basically, what is a bridge? Bridge is a data link layer device. So why do we need bridge in the first place? We had hubs, but the problem with the hub was that it created a lot amount of traffic. So in order to reduce the traffic, we go for bridge. So now also bridge has been outdated, but it was a little bit advancement over hub. So what is the basic function of a bridge? Suppose you have got a complex LAN network. The bridge, it bifurcates the LAN network and connects it. Bifurcates the LAN network into two segments and then connect it. So when a data packet is sent to the hub, it will decide to which segment I have to broadcast it. So in a way, it has got some intelligence more than the hub. So its function is filtering content by reading the MAC addresses of source and destination. Okay. So the function of bridge is to filter contents by reading the MAC addresses of source and destination. So in a way, it is more intelligent than a hub and it has got more improvement than a hub. So what it does, it will bifurcate the LAN network into two segments and connect these two LAN segments. So basically here two LANs means two LAN segments. So why do we need that? In order to reduce the traffic on the LAN. So how does it work? We will now see. So here you can see from the slide, there is a complex network which has been divided into two segments and those two segments are connected through a bridge. So bridge has got two ports over here. This is segment A. You can see here, this is segment A. And here you have got segment B. So suppose your PC1 of segment A wants to communicate with PC1 of segment B. So what happens? For the first time, when PC1 sends data packets to the bridge for the respective PC1 of segment B, the bridge, since it doesn't know the MAC addresses of both the PCs, what it will do? First of all, it is maintaining a bridge. Basically, it is maintaining a bridge table here. You can see. So in bridge table, you have got port numbers and MAC addresses of the devices. So MAC address is basically the physical address of the device. Okay. So when PC1 of segment A wants to communicate with PC1 of segment B, at that time what the bridge will see, okay, the incoming packets are from PC1. Okay, and that is coming from port 1. So it will register the MAC address of PC1 in the column of port number 1. So we have got two ports for a bridge. Okay. So when PC1 of segment A sends the data packets to the bridge will see, okay, the data packets are coming from port 1. So it will register the respective device's MAC address to the respective port number. So here for port number 1, the PC1 of segment A gets registered. Okay. After this is registered, the whole data packets are broadcasted to all the devices. Okay. Once the data packets are broadcasted to the devices, only PC1 of segment B will accept the data packets. So once it accepts the data packet, the MAC address of that PC1 of segment B gets registered to the respective port number. So here PC1 of B, okay, the MAC address of PC1 of segment B will get registered. Now you consider the second scenario where this PC2 of segment A wants to communicate with PC1 of segment B. So what will happen now? Okay, so bridge will look at its table first. Okay, it will see, okay, if there is PC1 of segment B mentioned over here or not. So it will find, okay, this PC1 of segment B is there and it is connected to port number 2. Okay. So when this PC2 of segment A will send data packets to bridge, Okay, the bridge will see, okay, the data packets are meant for PC1 of segment B. So it is connected to port 2. So what it will do? In spite of broadcasting those data packets to every device, it will broadcast the data packets only to segment B. Because it knows like this PC1 of segment B is connected to port number 2. So it will only broadcast this data packets to that segment B. So that is how it is reducing the complexity of a hub. So what we saw in a hub, the data packets were broadcasted to each and every device. But here it will decide where the device is lying, either in segment 1 or segment 2, and according to that it will broadcast the data packets. So what is the advantage of this? What was the advantage of bridge? The advantage of bridge was it reduced the amount of traffic over the network. But the thing with bridge is it only performed some less intelligence as compared to a switch that we will look at. So a switch is basically a multi-port bridge with buffer. You can see. So multi-port bridge means it has got multiple ports and multiple devices can be connected to it. So every unique device will have got its unique port number. So what is the further advantage of using a switch? It will selectively forward the packets to the respective port number. We will see how. One more point to be noted for a switch is that it is a data link layer device. So we saw that the main function of a data link layer device is to check if there is error in the data packets or not. And if there is any error, it will perform the error recovery operation. Okay. So it can also perform error checking before forwarding the data. The next function of a switch, as we already told, is that the packets are sent selectively to the particular port. Let's see how it happens. From the slide over you can see there is a switch here which has got 3 ports. Okay? Port 1, 2 and 3. This device A is connected to port 1, device B is connected to port 2 and device C is connected to port 3. Since each and every device has got its unique port number, the switch, it is very easy for the switch to selectively select the particular device. Suppose this device A wants to send the message to device B connected to port 2. Okay. So first, switch will maintain a switching table. Okay. As in the case of a bridge, we saw that bridge maintains a bridge table. Likewise, switch maintains a switching table. So this switching table also carries port number and the MAC addresses of the device. So for the first time, when device A is sending packets to the switch in order to be sent to device B, the switch will look into the switching table if it has device B's knowledge with it or not, if it knows where the device B is connected. But the table now is empty. Initially the table is empty. So initially the table is empty. What does that mean? So it means this data packet which is sent by A, okay, device A, it will be broadcasted to each and every device is connected to switch. Okay, so it will be broadcasted to device C and device B. So once these data packets are received by the switch from device A, it will register the MAC address of device A to the respective port number. So this switch has got 3 ports here. Okay, it will register, it will see, okay, the data packets are coming from port 1, so it will register the MAC address of PCA at port number 1. So we have got this. Okay. So for the first time, since the data packets are broadcasted, only B will be able to accept the data, since the data is meant for B. Okay. So once the B accepts the data, the MAC address of B gets registered to the respective port number 2. Okay. At that moment, device C will reject the data, since the data is not meant for device C. Now, consider the second scenario. This C, okay, wants to communicate to B. This device C wants to communicate to B. So this device C will send data packets to the switch. The switch will see, okay, the data packets are coming from port number 3. So it will register the MAC address of device C to the respective port number 3. So we have got this. After it is done, it will look at its table where this device B is located. Then it will find, okay, this device B is located at port number 2. Okay. So what it will do, switch? It will forward this data packets to only that device, port B. Okay. So it will selectively select the device to which the packets has to be forwarded. But you just remember that for the first time, since the table is empty, the data packets has to be broadcasted everywhere. Once the entries are made in the table, the switches forward the packets selectively to the desired location. The next networking device that we look at is a router. So basically, router is a higher layer device. What is the functionality of a router? Okay, it actually connects two networks working on the same protocols. Okay, so you can see from this figure, okay, you have got this LAN. Okay, so this is your LAN, switch and hub makes one LAN. Okay. Similarly, you have got this second LAN. So what is the routers doing? Routers are connecting these two LANs. Okay. So routers, you can think like routers is a way of connecting your LAN to the outside internet. And how does it do? It is doing so by maintaining a routing table. Like the switches that we have studied, they maintain a switching table. Routers maintain a routing table. For the switches and bridge, we saw that the address that they took into account was the MAC address or the physical address. But for the routers, they assign IP addresses to each and every device. Okay, so this is called basically a logical addressing. We will see what is a logical addressing in further classes. So basically, it will maintain, okay, port number and the IP addresses of the devices. So it basically forwards the packet based on the IP addresses of the device. So the next networking device that we look at is a gateway. So gateway is a application layer device, or you can say that it is much more higher levelly implemented than a router. So basically, gateways are called protocol converters or protocol translators because it connects to networks working on different protocols. So what does that mean, working on different protocols? It means maybe the topologies that is used in those two networks are different. Maybe the number of layers that has been designed in those two networks may be different. The protocols used in those two layers of the two different networks may be different. So in order to make them connect with each other, in order to make them communicate with each other, we use gateways. So gateways are more complex than a simple router and a switch, and it is basically known as protocol converters. So from the figure you can see this is a network. Okay, this is a network which uses this IP addressing scheme 10.0.0.0. Okay, and here the second network is using the IP addressing scheme 20.0.0.0. So those two networks are completely different because they are using different protocols, but they are connected through gateways because some at the other time they need to communicate with each other. Having now studied about the different network devices, intermediate devices that are used in a computer network, we will go through the transmission technologies involved. So basically, what is a transmission technology? Transmission technology means like how your two devices are able to transmit data. What is the link between them? What kind of links do they share? So basically, two types of transmission technologies are there. First is the broadcast and the second is point-to-point. So in a broadcast network, what happens in a broadcast network? In a broadcast network, the channel is shared by each and every device that is connected to it. Okay. So what happens? Suppose machine A, machine B, C, D and E are connected through a common channel. So if machine A wants to send data to a particular machine, but it gets received by all the machines because all of them are sharing the common channel. Okay. So, but in point to point, what happens? There is a dedicated channel between two devices. From the figure you can see, the first figure, figure number A, is indicating your point-to-point link where the two devices are sharing a common channel. So what is the benefit of this kind of link? The benefit is the required device only accepts the data, and this data is much more secure than that of the broadcast. Also, there is less traffic on a point-to-point network. Similarly, in figure B, you can see there is a multi-point network, or basically you can say it is a broadcast network. Here, this main frame is sending data to all the devices. They are sharing the common channel. So, all the devices will accept the data. So, in a way, the traffic is increasing on the channel. So, having understood the transmission technologies that is involved in a computer network, we will now look at the classification of this network hardware based upon the coverage of the geographical area. So based upon the coverage of the geographical area, the networks has been divided into 4 types. The first is the local area network, second is the metropolitan area network, third is the wide area network, and the fourth is the internet. So from the slide you can see how we have classified these different networks based upon their coverage of the geographical area. So if your coverage of the network is within 1 meter, we consider it as personal area network. So you can see from the slide, if your coverage area is within 1 meter, that network is called personal area network. Similarly, when you have your coverage area within 1 kilometer, that network is called local area network. Similarly, if it is within 10 kilometers, it is called metropolitan area network. Within 1000 kilometers, it is wide area network, and if it is more than 1000 kilometers or 10,000 kilometers, within 10,000 kilometers, it is the internet. So we will look at these networks one by one in detail. So the first network that we are going to see is a LAN, or a local area network. So before going into the discussion about LAN, I just want to ask you a simple question. So just think about it. Okay. So you might have studied about this LAN, MANs and WANs before also. So you might be able to answer this. So first consider the first scenario. I have a friend, okay, we are sitting in the same room, we are sharing different laptops, okay, but we are communicating with each other over the Facebook, but we are in the same room, okay. So this is the first scenario. So my question is, what kind of network is it? Is it a LAN, MAN or a WAN? Now consider the second scenario. Okay. I have my laptop with me and my friend is there situated in Delhi. She is in Delhi. I am in Andhra Pradesh. So my system is connected to her system through a dedicated Ethernet cable. Okay. And now I am communicating to her. My coverage is very huge. Okay. From Andhra to Delhi, that coverage is huge. So what kind of network is it? Is it a LAN, MAN or WAN? So just think about it. So from our earlier days, we have been already studying about LAN, MAN and WAN. We discussed that on the basis of coverage area, that 10 kilometer, 1000 kilometer, we have divided our concepts regarding LAN, MAN and WAN. But we didn't understood the real concept behind that. The thing is, in the first scenario, when we two friends were sharing the same room, but were chatting over internet, we were chatting over Facebook. Okay, most of you will say the answer it is a LAN because we are in the same room. But the answer is it is a WAN, wide area network. Why is it a wide area network? Because it is involving internet. Okay, that Facebook, how we are able to access Facebook because of internet. So any network which involves internet is a wide area network. In the second scenario, when me and my friend was located so many distance apart, but we were connected through Ethernet cable. So even if we were connected, even if we were so much distance apart, we were connected through Ethernet cable and our communication was not involving internet. Okay, so that is a LAN. Okay, so why these definitions then? These definitions are based because on the based on the practical uses. Okay, so practically it is not possible to set up an Ethernet cable from Andhra to Delhi. Okay, so in that case, that practicality is not maintained. The most important difference that you should remember between LAN and WAN is the local area network does not involve internet for its communication, whereas wide area network involves internet. So this local area network basically uses transmission media such as coaxial cable, twisted pair cables, optical fiber cables for its connection. Okay. So these LANs can also be wireless also. Okay. So there you have got two types of LANs, wired LANs and wireless LANs. So there are many benefits of wired LANs because the speed of wired LANs are very much high. It is in the order of 100 Mbps to 1 Gbps. You can imagine the speed. On the other hand, for a wireless LAN, how is it implemented? You might have implemented wireless LANs in your homes, okay? So you are connecting your devices to routers, okay? To modems you are connecting your devices, and those modems are called access points, which are in turn connected through a LAN cable to the respective station ISPs. So that is a kind of wireless LANs. But the problem with wireless LAN is it doesn't have that much data speed as compared to wired LANs. Okay. From the slide you can see the implementation of a wired LAN and the wireless LAN. So this wireless LAN basically involves an access point, whereas the wired LANs are directly connected to the switch through Ethernet cables. So the next network that we look upon is a metropolitan area network. So basically a metropolitan area network is composed of smaller LANs. So many more LANs form together form a metropolitan area network. So this metropolitan area network is confined within a city or within two cities. Okay. So basically in a MAN or a metropolitan area network, higher bandwidth technologies we are using like optical fiber cables. Okay. So these optical fiber cables provide speed at the rate of 1 Gbps. More than in fact 1 Gbps. So that is why we use for metropolitan area network. The thing with metropolitan area network is since it involves more number of devices as compared to a LAN, okay, the installation cost is very much high. So in case of a local area network, the local area network can be maintained or owned by a private organization or a private individual, but it is not possible in the case of metropolitan area network, because lots of devices are connected and the installation cost of these optical fibers will be very much high. Also, since it is connected to more number of devices as compared to a local area network, the security issues are there. There is a probability that malicious users may try to steal your information. So LANs are much more secure, but the disadvantage of LAN is it is concentrated over a specific smaller place. So one of the example of a metropolitan area network is a cable TV network. So this cable TV network connects most of the localities in a city. Cable network is a type of metropolitan area network. The next network that we will look at is a wide area network. So basically wide area network is a composition of smaller LANs, more MANs connected together. So it may connect a whole country or even a whole continent. So what is the purpose of having this wide area network? Okay. Even though LANs have so much uses or so many advantages are there for LANs, but unless you communicate globally, it is of no use. So at the end, your LANs need to be connected to the internet. Okay, your LANs need to be connected to LANs of some other places, and how it is done? It is done through wide area network. So wide area network comprises of more number of smaller LANs and metropolitan area networks together. Basically, what happens in a wide area network? The two most important things for a wide area network are the hosts and the subnet. Okay, so you should remember these points. For a wide area network, the two most important components are the host and the subnet. So subnet, when we discussed earlier, we saw a cloud of interconnected networking devices. So in a way, we can strictly say that the cloud of interconnected networking device was a subnet, and the end devices were the host. When you consider both these end devices and the subnet together, you call it as a computer network. So basically, your wide area network consists of the end devices called hosts and the intermediate devices interconnection called the subnet. So basically your subnet comprises of the transmission lines and networking devices. Transmission lines and networking devices. So switches, as we have already seen, is a kind of networking device. So not just switches, there can be switches, routers, anything. Okay, and the transmission lines comprise of your coaxial cables, optical fiber cables, or twisted pair cables. So what all we saw in a wide area network? Wide area network covers a more geographical area as compared to a LAN or a MAN. Okay. The most important part of a wide area network are the end devices called host and the subnet. Then the subnet consists of the transmission lines and the networking devices. The networking devices can be your switches, routers, or gateways. Okay. We have already seen the function of switches and bridges. Okay. Then the switches connect two or more LANs together. Okay. So from the slide you can see what basically is a subnet. Okay. So subnet, as we already told, subnet is a combination of transmission lines. Okay. So basically these wires, okay, these wires are transmission lines. So your transmission lines can be either fiber optical cables, twisted pair cables, so this is basically the transmission media. This round thing, these are your networking devices. So what are all there in networking devices? Basically network devices consist of switches, routers, okay, hubs, repeaters, as we have already seen. So these devices are called the end devices. So at the end, what you have seen, when you combine these end devices together with the subnet, you get computer networks. Okay, that is the definition of a computer network. In short, when we talk about wide area network, we talk about these end devices and the subnet separately. Okay, so this wide area network is comprising of end devices and subnet, in where the subnet is comprising of this transmission lines and the network devices. As you can see from the slide, how the data packets are moved from the sender to the receiver. So at the sender side, this is your sending host. Okay. At the sender side, this some kind of process, this sending process. What is the meaning of the sending process? So you consider yourself when you are sitting on a laptop typing something on Google.com, that Google search page. That is basically called a process. Okay. So basically, what is a process? When you are typing something on the Google search page, okay, that is called a process. What is the function of this process? This process sends some query data. Okay, as we have already seen in our previous class, the data which is sent by a process from the sender side is called the query data. These query data are sent to the subnet. Okay, so this basically is the subnet. So here in subnet you have got lots of networking devices connected to each other. Okay. So these data packets will travel through the best path. Okay. So how it is calculating the best path, that is another consideration. While we look at the network layer, we will see that this network layer job is to calculate the best path through which the data packets need to travel. Okay. So from the best path, this query data will be traveling to the receiving host. Okay. After this receiving host receives your data packets, it carries out certain process. It is called receiving process. In case your receiving host is a server, it will resolve your query data and give back your reply. Okay, so it will send back the reply. In case your receiving host is a server, This reply again travels through a series of networking devices and gets back to the sender. So you see here, the path that this reply data will follow will not be exactly to the same path that the query data was following. At each and every time, the best path is calculated again and again because it will keep on changing depending upon the number of devices connected, depending upon the number of devices communicating, depending upon the traffic. So the path which the query data follows from sender to receiver will not be exactly the same path as that of the reply data.
Look at these networks in a nutshell. First is the PAN or Personal Area Network. It is used for personal uses. So it is a small network that connects mobile devices, PCs or laptops. It uses wireless technologies such as Bluetooth, infrared or NFC, near field communication in order to connect. They can also be connected using a wired connection such as USB cable. They are generally used for transferring small files such as music, calendars, photos, etc. The next type of network is LAN. It stands for Local Area Network. It is a group of devices like computers, server, switches and printers that are located in the same building such as in an office or a home. The devices in a way are in close proximity to each other. The most common type of LAN is an Ethernet LAN, where two or more computers are connected using Ethernet cables through a switch. The next network is a WLAN. It also stands for Wireless Local Area Network. It is a LAN that uses wireless instead of wired connection. Here, at least two devices use wireless communication to form a LAN. It will typically have a Wi-Fi router or a wireless access point for wireless devices to communicate. The next network is a MAN or Metropolitan Area Network. This is a larger network than a LAN or a CAN. It spans over several buildings in a city or town. So these MANs are typically connected using high-speed transmission media such as optical fiber cables. The MAN can even be concentrated in one city. The next network is a WAN or Wide Area Network. It is the largest type of network and it consists of several LANs, MANs, and it spans over a larger geographical area. The geographical area can even cover a whole continent or a whole country. Internet is an example of
The next topic that we will see is your internetworks. So basically internetworks is a combination of wide area networks or a combination of subnets and its hosts. So when you consider end devices and its own and its solely connected subnet, it is called wide area network. When you connect so many end devices and subnets together, it is called internetworks. So internetwork is a connection of distinct networks. Distinct implies that the networks are implementing distinct protocols. Okay, the topologies that they may be using may be different. Like some network may be using mesh topology. So another network may be going for ring topology. So how these two different networks are connected? Okay, these two are connected through gateways as we have already seen. So this connection of distinct networks, okay, is called internetworks. We have finished till now network hardware and network devices. In the next class, we will look upon network software. So as much as the network hardware is important, so is the network software. So in earlier days, what people used to think, okay, only the implementation, the physical implementation of network is there and everything will be working out. As much as a network hardware is important, so is a network software. Okay, designing a network software, these network designers went through some series of problems. So that is why they came up with some of the structuring points they have to keep in mind while developing a network software. So these are some of the structuring points. First is the protocol hierarchies. What do you mean by this protocol hierarchies? Let's analyze it through a simple analogy. Consider your university, okay? So you have got chairman there, after that you have got vice chairman and so on. The functions of these all personalities are defined separately, they are unique. And why do these functions are important to us? Because they make up a whole university. They are responsible for a proper functioning of the university. Likewise, for a proper functioning of the network, hierarchies are important in network. While designing network software, these hierarchies are kept in mind. These are called protocol hierarchies. The second structuring point that needs to be kept in mind while designing network software are the design issues of the layers. Okay? So once we have got these hierarchies are called layers. The functions of these layers are defined properly. Okay? So while defining the function of these layers, while developing the software for the functions of these layers, what are the design issues of the layers that we have to keep in mind? Okay? The third structuring point is the type of the services that the layers should provide to each other, like connection oriented or connectionless services. Connection oriented services are similar to that when you make a telephone call. Okay? When you make a telephone call, the number that you are ringing is actually setting up a physical path between you and the receiver. Okay? That is connection oriented. Similarly, what kind of services require connectionless services? Okay? The fourth structuring point is the service primitives. Okay? And the fifth is the relationship of services to protocols. All these structuring points will be taken in the next class. So thank you for today.